We're here at the Naples Daily News Editorial Board welcoming Charles Messina, a candidate for Florida House District 76. Welcome, Charles. Can you start out by introducing yourself a little bit to folks in the district who are not familiar with who you are?
Well, I live out on Pine Island. I am originally from a small town, Woket, Connecticut, and I was born and raised there, moved to Oklahoma for a time. I was involved in basically production manufacturing while in Connecticut, and got into the paper pulp business. And I worked in both union shops and non-union shops alike, so I have those experiences behind me. Most of my education comes from Quinnipiac University in Hamden, Connecticut. I had attended there and received 101 credit hours towards my degree, and then life happened, married, baby, ended up taking a hiatus from school, and then later on returning to school, but went to the University of Oklahoma and graduated from the Price School of Business there a few years later. My degree is in economics with a minor in finance, and I started my own business in Oklahoma. In the security business, we provided guard services and designed and installed CCTV systems for larger institutions, such as the facility you have here at the Naples Daily, this size commercial building. Did systems for government subcontractors, Cromwell, Oklahoma, Norman Regional Hospital, those types of places. So found myself, after a divorce, coming here to Florida, fell in love with it, and like fishing. And my candidacy, I am environmentally friendly, fiscal conservative, and I would say I'm moderate in the social issues.
When did you move to Florida? What year?
It was actually March of '04 is when I located to Florida.
Pine Island right away?
No. I first, I had visited here a couple times going back and forth. I had come to get my mortgage broker's license and took classes, found a landing pad basically, rented a room in a house, and then I came here and moved here full time, and then relocated from there to Pine Island. I moved out to Pine Island in '05.
What's the reason or reasons you're running for this seat?
Well, quite frankly, we have a broken system. I'm very concerned about it. I'm concerned about our political system. I see people in the state of Florida, many offices run unopposed, and I had noticed that Ray Rodriguez had run unopposed last time when he came into office, and that was disturbing to me. What was more disturbing to me was the idea that we're trying to frack or hydrofrack for oil and gas here in Florida, and I see that as a very dangerous thing to play with. Fracking or hydrofracking was developed as a process for geology that is much different than our geology here in Florida. It was designed to extract and fracture shale rock to extract natural gas and oils from these structures. And we don't have that structure here. We have porous limestone here. And so first the nature of the industry says, well, fracking, then they changed it to acid fracking, and now we're off into the nether reaches of some fracking-like activity. And it really caught my eye what the folks were doing down in Collier, and I was wondering why Ray Rodriguez, my opponent, would be introducing legislation or legislation into the legislature that would hide basically the dangerous chemicals used in the fracking process. There's two bills, there's sister bills, and they started out with different bill numbers. When he first went into office, there were House Bill 743, and I believe House Bill, I'm looking for it in my notes, 745. And one bill basically, as I understand it, and they've changed number now, so they're basically House Bill 71 and House Bill 157. House Bill 71 says basically that we want to have a registry of some sort, and they've deferred to a industry registry, fracfocus.org, which the legislature has adopted an amendment 442077, which has taken it from the DEP and taken it away from the DEP and put it into this fracfocus.org is my understanding of it, and I could be a little bit off on that on my notes. But in any case, the House Bill 157, which is a sister or companion bill to it, basically says, well, if you claim that your particular mix of fracking fluid is proprietary in nature, then you don't have to disclose. Now, Mr. Rodriguez proposes that this is all about disclosure, and I don't read it that way. You know, I think I'm a fairly educated person. I see this as hiding the chemicals. And so this was very disturbing to me. And I started doing research, and I started finding out that a lot of raised donations were coming from oil and gas. They were coming from beer distributors. And then I started noticing the legislation themselves, the pieces of legislation that he's introducing, or has introduced. One of them, House Bill 1329, would actually do away with eventually the tasting rooms, I believe, at these microbreweries that we have. And as a Republican, I don't know if that's the thing to do. That's not being in favor of business as a Republican's supposed to be in favor of business. And then the House Bill, once again, 71-157, I don't sit around with my friends and neighbors asking for this kind of legislation. So this plays into the whole idea of our governmental system being broken. And then when I research the contributions, I see trouble there. My opponents raised $122,000, which people could buy a small home for, and this is for a race for a district that has between 105 and 107,000 people. So that's troubling to me, and I admittedly have not raised a lot of money, and the reason why is, and this is something that I've discovered as I get through the campaign process, and what's happened is I get a lot of questionnaires from different groups. And basically they say to me, and here's one of them, and I've received them from both people that are aligned on the left and people that are aligned on the right. And I thought to myself, well, gee, and the one that was troubling, one of the ones I got first was from the AFL-CIO. Now, I'm running as a Democrat. And that's because of my family background, working collar, working class household. However, I have to say, I don't think that we should brand ourselves as politicians. And I think that that's one of the reasons why our system is broken. We're branding ourselves. If you're an R, you're this, and if you're a D, you're that. Well, I got to tell you, I think that some of my positions are more conservative than you would ever see coming out of someone that's supposed to be a Republican. Some of my positions are very liberal. But I'm not just one thing. I'm not just on one side of any particular issue. And being in business myself, from the security company that I owned and operated in Oklahoma, I discovered a lot of things that people that aren't in business don't get to experience. And if I'm going this way, there's a law here, and I have to go that way. I have no choice. And if I'm going this way, there's a law here, and I have to go off that way.
Charles, if you decided to run against him as a Democrat, so that'll be in November, what was your reason for not running against him as a Republican and facing him in the primary?
Well, honestly, that's a strategic decision. He ran unopposed. He had 3 opponents, okay, which he beat in the primary handedly, as I understand from my research. And I thought I would want to go the path of least resistance to the general election, okay? So there was a little strategy in there, but I do have my heart in the Democratic Party, but I would say, don't brand me. Don't brand me, because I've been in business and I've had these experiences and I know what it takes to do commerce. And I will say this, you cannot do commerce anywhere if the water isn't drinkable. You can't. This fracking process, as I understand it, is taking acids, at least in this geological structure that we have here in Florida, and injecting them to stimulate, they say, the geology underneath so that they could extract the oil or gas. Now, at this point in time, if you can't, I have a little demonstration for you. I would like to show you, and I'd like to see it recorded in the process. I have here, and here is a little pamphlet on acid fracking that comes from Reservoir Paradise. I'd like to try to be safe about this, and I don't think anyone should worry. This is limestone, basically shell. Okay, this is what we have underneath us. Don't do this at home, kids.
While you're getting this set up,
Okay.
do you have ideas in mind in terms of legislation to deal with fracking that you would be?
Well, my first piece of legislation, I have promised people that I know at Preserve Our Paradise and Stone Crab Alliance and Save the Caloosahatchee, I've promised those groups, and they're doing great work bringing awareness to this.
Mm-hmm.
And here we go, folks. Is the camera on this?
Yes.
Okay. This is what they call stimulation. This here, what's going on in this glass. What it is, it's a reaction between the acid and the limestone will actually dissolve the structure. They call this stimulation.
And what did you pour in there, Charles?
Well, I'll tell you. I did that for effect too. This is a type of acid. It's vinegar.
Yeah.
I didn't want to have any kind of hazard here.
Yeah.
And anyways, I even brought a little bit of a base to neutralize it. Actually, some of this stuff I used to clean my coffee maker. some clear vinegar. So what I want to do is now to just make things a little bit safer. Throw that in there, and we could probably throw a little water or something in there and just neutralize the acidity. But anyways, I wanted to show that as a demonstration because I could do this. Just neutralize it. But I want to do it as a demonstration because there's a real misinformation about what's going on. And people will say, oh, well, you don't mind, I'm going to take my powder-laden jacket off now. And so this is problematic, that people don't understand this stuff, okay? And they need to understand it. And I don't know about anyone else, but my insurance company doesn't take care of sinkholes. And so if we put this stuff in the ground, you know, not only that, but there's other chemicals within these fracking fluids that are carcinogens. And I can't pronounce half of them. I really can't. Some of these chemicals, I have a little bit of a list here.
Are these chemicals you know that have been used in Southwest Florida? Or
Here's the thing, I don't know that because we don't have these disclosure rules yet, and the disclosures, the way that the industry wants to do them, okay, is they want to self-police. They want to use fracfocus.org. And I have to tell you, Harvard just did a study, and I have just the front sheet of it here, and then a little bit of a review, which is the very next page, okay? And I can go to these three subheadings with just a little bit of this information. Number 3 item, it says, non-disclosure. Trade secret protection is crucial in order to reward development of unique products in the marketplace. However, 3 characteristics of a robust trade secret regime prevent overly broad demands for this protection. Substitution by the company, verification by government agency, and opportunity for public challenge. FracFocus has none of these characteristics. Operators have sole discretion to determine when to assert trade secrets. As a result, inconsistent trade secret assertions are made throughout the registry. That's about fracfocus.org. And this here, and I'll leave this with you, I have this in my computer. This was these people over at Harvard, they know a little bit of stuff, I guess. You know.
Is this your one and only issue that you're running for?
The system is broken as
the
system is broken as I have stated earlier, and here's part of this, and this is getting into the issue of right versus left, and you don't know who's who. I have been affiliated with these organizations that are bringing awareness to these issues, okay? And I know of a gal in one of these groups that has a unique shirt. She made it herself, going out to protests and so on and so forth. On the front of it is the picture of a panther, because where they wanted to do this thing was down in the panther preserve area. And it's like, she used the words, "Don't frack on me, bro." This was a unique shirt. She's the only one that has one of these. This is an email to me from a left-wing organization. This is why, you know, I'm equally taking shots at both sides here, okay? This is Progress, Florida. A fellow sent me this email. His name is Mark Foriulo, I guess. I'm sorry, Mark, if I mispronounced your name. But in this email, it says to me, "Oh, we're doing so much about, you know, this terrible issue of fracking, and we've sent this letter," and he's taken the picture off of the internet of this girl that I know that is actually out there protesting with me. I've been out there protesting, okay? And so I'm trying to do something about this, and I see this kind of activity that makes me sick, that someone is utilizing and proponing to be, you know, in this group of people, okay? And it sickens me. So regardless of whether it's on the right or the left, it's nonsense. It's nonsense. And this is what I mean about all of these, I mentioned earlier, all of these questionnaires that I got. Now, I've decided not to answer any of these questionnaires because most of them require a signature from me. Now, in my rudimentary legal course when I was in school, they said if you had a meeting of the minds and if you had a document that's signed and you had a little bit of consideration, this is a contract. Okay? So I'm not a legal mind, and I don't know really what constitutes a contract one way or the other, but I know this. It's at least a quid pro quo. So if you have a candidate that is out there, my opponent, Ray Rodriguez, raised $122,000 for a position that pays 32, 35, where are his loyalties going to be? Is it going to be with the people? And this is what I mean when I talked about these House bills, because all these House bills, whether it's 1329, House Bill 71, or House Bill 157, these seem to be all model legislation that comes out of a group called ALEC. And I know all of you gentlemen are familiar with who and what ALEC is. The American Legislative Exchange Council. They are a membership organization. They circumvent our lobbying laws. They shop for representatives. They say, we'll get your money. I think that's what they say, because I mean, I don't know how else it would work. You know, if someone could prove me wrong, fine. But then there's this long drawn out story by my opponent of how he came to this legislation about fracking. I read a newspaper, there was this, there was that. Well, from what I could see in my research, and might I say at one point in time, my career was that of a private investigator, and I worked for top plaintiff attorneys in the state of Oklahoma and nationally, national top plaintiff attorneys, okay? Some of my work product has earned judgments of millions of dollars, okay? So in my research, I see that these bills are ALEC model legislation is what they call it, and they're all over the country in different forms. And that's why when I tell you about this Harvard study, they say that these things are all over the country where they want to have this fracfocus.org in charge of the disclosure. See? So I've just been connecting dots. I'm not making charges. I'm not saying anything definitive, but I have to say it's curious. It's curious to me. And here's one more curiosity. My opponent, Mr. Rodriguez, used to have a campaign manager whose name was Terry Miller. Now Terry is just a consultant. I think Connie Mack had something to say about Mr. Miller's involvement with a lot of the Republican candidates around here. And Terry Miller was with or affiliated with an organization called Strategic Advocacy. And then Strategic Advocacy was a member of ALEC, if they're not still already, you know, a member of ALEC. So this to me is the connection of the dots. I think there's some documentation that would show that connection one dot to another with Mr. Miller. So this is why I'm running. I'm running because I see a broken system. I don't want to participate in the system of the money thing, okay, and basically signing contracts or quid pro quos with groups. It doesn't matter whether they're on the right or the left. I have denied all of them, okay? NRA, Planned Parenthood, people that I should be aligned with as a Democratic candidate. Some folks, like Planned Parenthood.
So is your goal here to defeat Ray Rodriguez, or is it to go to Tallahassee and serve the community?
My goal in my campaign, which you need to win in order to get to Tallahassee, is number one, show that I'm a better candidate and I'm more honest and I have more integrity. Number two, when I get to Tallahassee, with a little bit of luck, hopefully, because I'm running in a heavily right-wing area. If I get to Tallahassee, if I should be that fortunate, I'm going to take my integrity and I'm going to do the people's business. I'm not going to do the corporation's business and the big money business. I'm going to do the people's business. Okay? And that's why, and I'm trying to connect the dots here and bring it full circle. I know I'm not trying to bash anyone, and I'm not talking about Ray personally. I'm talking about policies. Okay? These are policies. And I find fault with this, and I find fault with the system, and everyone that sent me a questionnaire, I called them. And I said, gee, even teacher NEA, I called them, I says, you know, and I love teachers. I love nurses. You know, there's special groups in my heart, you know. And I call them, I say, listen, I said, listen, I have a problem with signing this questionnaire because, you know, you're bringing me to this direction, to this one place, and I have a problem signing it because I feel it's a quid pro quo. I want to be above the fray, okay? And could you just interview and not do something that I have to sign? And there's been one group and one group only, and they've actually endorsed me, that has done this, and it's the Fraternal Order of Police. They've endorsed me, and they understood exactly what I was saying when I called them up and I got their sheet, and I says, you know, I've been a private investigator, I've had a badge in another state, you know, I do some work in security. I don't want to be perceived as someone that does the wrong thing. You know, and they endorsed me. So, you know, that was the one group that didn't make me sign something.
You mentioned doing the people's business. How might that translate into just picking an issue, say the economy? What would Mr. Messina do relative to economic development or spurring economic activity in the state or in Southwest Florida?
There's a misnomer about that. And it's not that I'm against growth, and I'm fully aware and I'm acutely aware of the idea that because of inflation, you make your debt look smaller when you inflate. So we all want economic growth to do away with our debt because we've been on the credit card for a long time. Okay, I understand that thoroughly. And the problem with that is that if I grow, and people don't know this generally, but some really eggheads in economics know this stuff, is that growth is tied to the use of fossil fuels. Okay? You cannot have growth. Well, let me qualify that. You can have growth, you need energy to grow. We're hooked on this crack cocaine of fossil fuel. Okay? And we need to get off of it. We need to get to solar. And this gets to some of my issues why I want to be up in Tallahassee. Public Services Commission has got a stranglehold on the utilization of solar power in this state. Okay? You can't do anything without their blessing. There's a gentleman, a developer, his name is Sid Kitson. Okay? He's got the Babcock Ranch he wants to develop. He wants to put a solar... They haven't given the Public Service Commission has not given him his exemption yet, so he could do that. And as I see it, and this is part of the problem with the structure of the state and our politics here, is that we have too many commissions that are appointees. Okay? It's the structure of the system that gives you its form. Okay? Just like we have a skeleton and we have skin stretched over it. It's the structure of the political system that gives us this form. If you wonder why we haven't been able to do anything about education in this state for the last 15 years, look at the structure. We no longer have a Board of Regents. Jeb Bush did away with that. Okay? We have a Board of Governors. And if you looked this past week, I was able to look at the Florida channel. These guys are missing a lot of data that they need to make decisions. Jeb Bush set this state back 15 to 30 years by what he did. Okay? And that filters on down to the local stuff. And as much as I love teachers, and I'm going to make a differentiation between the teachers and the administrators, and I don't want to say that anyone's a bad person, but if you're an educated person and you're an administrator of the teachers, okay, and you say, well, we're going to opt out. Oh, no, we're not going to opt out. Well, you didn't have a plan. You didn't have a plan. That scares me. These are the people that are in charge of teaching our future.
We're down to about our last minute here, Charles. Okay. Are there any closing thoughts you want to put out there as to why folks should vote for you?
Yeah, they should vote for me because I have a brain between my two ears. I'm not going to follow the corporate money because I didn't take it. Okay? I want to see our ecology get healthy, and we can. There's hope in that. It's just been reported that our ozone layer is starting to come back. Why? Because we passed laws that said we're not going to have any more fluorocarbons in the sprays that we use. That was depleting the ozone layer. There is positive news. We don't have to succumb to global warming, okay, if we get off of the fossil fuels. We don't. There's hope. We could take action. But we need people that are not going to play into this idea of growth at any cost. I have a grandchild. I want to see him grow up and have a nice, healthy, wholesome life and have an environment that he can enjoy. I want to see him I want to take him fishing, okay? And if you've all seen the pictures of the releases from Lake Okeechobee getting out into Pine Sound. So let me leave you with that. Let me leave you with that picture. Thank you very much for your time.